knew you were gonna fall out. I heard the whole thing.
Mr. Colonel Lake.
Yes, he should be loud and clear. Is he speaking now?
Hey there. What color? Okay. Good, good. She's making her way here.
Most of them are. That's the only one that's not.
Hey, Mr. Johnson. Great, how are you? One day at a time. I know you are. And a must.
Definitely drink the rest.
Yeah. How about you?
Oh, man.
I'd like to call the Gary Community School Board meeting to order. Would you please join me with the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Let's have roll call to confirm that we have a legal meeting and quorum.
Mr. Suttles,
Present.
Attorney Lockett,
Present.
Glenn Johnson is present. Mr. Irvin.
I'm present via remote, yes.
All right. Mr. Chair, we have 4 members present.
With 4 members present, we have quorum and a legal meeting. Moving on to item number 2.1 on our agenda, the approval of this afternoon's agenda. I will accept a motion.
So moved that we accept the agenda.
There's a motion on the floor, ma'am.
I ask that we take 5.3, 5.4, 5.5 off the consent agenda.
The motion to move to take 3, 4, and 5.
5.3, 5.4, 5.5 is not a motion, it's
It's just a request, so it's not a motion. So
Okay.
what should happen is you have to have your motion in a second, and then discussion is where the request to remove from the consent agenda comes into play.
okay, thank you.
So currently we have a motion on the floor lacking a second.
You need a second to have discussion. All right, there you go.
Second. Now let's have discussion on the motion.
Okay, so I move that we remove 5.
You have to request, it's not a motion.
Okay, so
So
I
you're
request
requesting.
that we move 5.3, 5.4. Wait, so this is in regards to accepting the agenda as it is, correct? You're
Right.
not saying why I want to change it.
You don't have to say why, you just make your request if you're asking to move consent agenda items out of that consent agenda.
Okay, so, I also would like to move for something else to be off the agenda, but,
Okay, so there's a motion right now to accept the agenda, and then if you're talking about just consent agenda items to be moved, then that's where the request comes into here. If you're just wanting to discuss other items on the agenda that should be removed, this is also the time to discuss it, but not a motion within the motion.
okay. So, the motion is to accept the agenda, and I move from the consent, I request that 5.3, 5.4, and 5.5 be removed from the agenda, from the consent agenda. And then if I have an additional request, say that now?
If you have additional discussion, because the
Additional
request
discussion.
only goes to the consent agenda.
Okay, thanks. So, for discussion, item 6.1, custodial services, I was informed that our CFO wasn't gonna be here today.
We're prepared to go forward with that.
Okay, because, and I also know that we have a shortened, or we're trying to have a shortened meeting today, and just, I feel like there's gonna be some discussion, so I don't know if we wanna move it or if we wanna keep it, but we may end up staying later than you all wanted to stay.
So the request is to remove items 5.3, 5.4, and 5.5 out of the consent agenda. So now I will entertain roll call for consent agenda of 2 items, 5.1 and 5.2.
Well, what you have before you is a motion to approve the agenda, but now there's been a request to remove 3 of the consent agenda items. So now the
I'm sorry,
motion,
Shalice, could you make that for 5.2 also?
okay, to clarify, so you're saying you want removed, I'm sorry, Commissioner, Commissioner, I apologize. Attorney Lockett, you're wanting to remove 5.2, 5.3, 5.4, and 5.5 from the consent agenda.
That's correct.
Okay,
So what happens now is that you've got a motion before you to approve the agenda with the request of the removal of these 4 consent agenda items from that consent agenda. Okay. Now you can, and unless there's other discussion, you can move forward with your vote.
Roll call for vote, please.
I'm sorry, but my understanding is there's not a roll call. So you move to consent.
No, this is, it's in the
Okay, thank you.
approval
Got
with
it.
these things to be removed at your request.
No, that's fine, thank you.
Mr. Suggs,
Yes.
Attorney Irvin,
Yes,
Attorney Light.
This is for just a consent agenda.
No, this is to approve the agenda with the removal of the consent agenda items as you requested.
They've already been removed out of consent.
Yes,
Okay.
there's not to be a vote on them to be removed. This is saying the agenda,
Second, the vote on 6.1. That's not what I'm doing right now. Right?
That's
Me
not a
saying
motion
this is what I
before
don't
that.
want to happen. Me saying yes, then you all saying, you say yes, so you can't discuss 6.1. So as long as we're clear on that, then my vote is yes.
okay.
All right, and Glenn Johnson votes yes.
Dr. Woods has arrived.
Yeah, so it was nine. Right, she wasn't here for the motion, so, with a vote of 4-0.
With a vote of 4 yes and 0 against, the agenda has been approved. Yes, with the adjustments requested. Member Lockett. Any further discussion? Oh, I guess that's done.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Just from 6.0 as is. Item 3 on our agenda, Gary Ready snapshot. Mrs. Whittington.
Good evening, Dr. Stokes, members of the board and this amazing community. My name is Chelsea Whittington, and I proudly serve as the Chief of Public and Community Relations for your Gary Community School Corporation. It's that time again, Gary Ready Snapshots, and my abbreviated version today has one very important announcement. It is about our parent survey. If you know anything about the team at the district, we are all about data, right, Dr. Treadwell? We want information about how we're doing, particularly when it comes to serving our community and our efforts in community engagement. So we have a survey, and the deadline is coming up April 13th. And so this is located on all of our platforms, our website, social media. It's being announced on our radio stations. We've done e-blasts. We have hard copies at all of our school buildings. And we're just asking our parents to please weigh in on the things that you are noticing that we're doing, the things that you feel that are needed, etc. And there is a chance there's an incentive on it as well. We're holding this QR code up for those who are in the audience who would like to scan it now, but again, you can find it at garyschools.org. One other short announcement, the deadline for our Knowledge Seekers Survey program, where we are looking for 2 cohorts of 15 participants to learn about how and why we do things in the district. That deadline for applications is tomorrow, April 10th, and all of those same platforms that I previously named, the application is there as well. Thank you so much, and this concludes my Gary Ready Snapshot.
Thank you.
Are there any questions? Questions?
Yeah, I do have a question. For the, just
The knowledge seekers.
The knowledge seekers. How many applicants do we have this far?
I haven't checked today, but the last time I checked, we were a little over 30.
Wonderful.
Yes, they're coming in and a nice, diverse interest.
Appreciate it.
The survey for knowledge seekers, this one as well. Oh, I was mistaken. The parent survey also closes tomorrow, April 10th. So please scan the QR code. We want your feedback, parents.
Any additional questions? Thank you, sir.
You're welcome, Mr. Suggs.
We'll move on to item 4 on our agenda, public comments. Mr. Johnson, would you read?
Pursuant to Indiana Code 5-14-1.5-3, Gary Community School Corporation Board of Trustees welcomes comments from the community. As a result, the agenda for each regular meeting provides time for public expression. The period of public expression is limited to 3 minutes per individual and 30 minutes total discussion of items on the agenda or to express concerns relative to the operation of the school, city, school board actions, and other items of general educational interest. If there are many people wishing to address the board, we may limit the amount of time a person may speak. Comments should be directed to the board, not individual board members. Statements should not be abusive or argumentative. Persons making comments should not debate statements made by others. It should not be permissible to orally present, discuss complaints against individual employees of the Gary Community School Corporation at any board of school trustees meetings. Issues relating to personnel, individual circumstances, or an individual school will be referred to the building principal or an appropriate administrator in an attempt to resolve the issue prior to an appeal before the board. Speaker cannot transfer the remaining time to another person. The board president will enforce these rules and may take actions necessary to maintain order at the meeting. Such actions may include, but are not limited to, interrupting the speaker if the statement is too lengthy, unduly repetitive, or otherwise violates the rules. The president may terminate the address of any speaker who violates these rules, or limit the total amount of time devoted to public comments if there's a large number of people wishing to address the board, or if there's an agenda of other business before the board.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. R. Bugs.
Good evening, Dr. Stokes, board, and members attending. I'm a little bit confused about the beginning of this meeting. It's my understanding that if you vote to accept the agenda, you vote to accept everything under that agenda. And if you're going to take items out, it's not for discussion, but when you say the vote is carried, you must you must state what the exceptions are, where they're going to be moved to. I didn't hear that. Items 5.2 through 5.5 should have been mentioned by the chairman when he said that the vote was carried. So I'm a little bit confused about that because this is not the first time this issue came up. It doesn't, when a board member requests that something be moved from one place to another one, there's no discussion. The chairman automatically moves it to that where it can be discussed, like in, I think, on action items, where it can be discussed. So I'm confused as to the rules and what the law states, because I'm really confused when you say that you vote on the consent agenda, then you vote on everything under that consent that's on the agenda. But if you're going to take things out and move someplace else, then that must be stated when the vote is carried. And I didn't hear that. So legally, those items that were requested to be moved has not been moved because it wasn't stated by the chairman. So could someone give me some clarity on that?
Sir, this is your time for your statement.
Say part?
This is your time for your statement.
I'm not making a statement. I asked for some clarification of this meeting that item that was asked to be removed and placed someplace else to be discussed, I think the public has a right to know what's going on. This has to do with this meeting.
Chairman, if I may, Mr. Bugs.
Yes.
This time is for public comment and not an exchange. There was a clear explanation as to how the agenda was adopted and to the request of Attorney Lockett. So if you want to continue with your public comment, your time is running out.
Okay, you used up about 10 of my seconds, but my comment,
You asked for a response, sir. So if they could give him 10 seconds, 15 seconds back, please. I don't want Mr. Bugs to feel cheated. Give him 15
Thank you.
seconds.
Appreciate it. But my comment was on how the meeting is going, because these items are very important. They should never been put on the consent items anyway. They should be discussed so that we can be aware of what's going on. So, the other thing I want to say is that, a pool, I had a student today ask me about would I rent him a hotel so he could go to the pool for his birthday. Now, could someone please tell me the status of the pool at West Side?
Thank you, sir. Christy Sass.
Did you miss me? I haven't been here for a while. My name is Christy Sass. Math is relentlessly hierarchical. I've told you a couple times about Chalk and Talk. It's a podcast about math, and if the kids can't do addition without looking at their fingers, then when they get to trying to do multiple digit numbers, they get lost because the cognitive load is too much. So they're still adding on the fingers in 5th grade. They can't do multiplication, and that means they can't do fractions, and then they can't do algebra, and then they can't get a lot of the high-paying careers, even though they may have a math aptitude. Okay, I'm a stakeholder. I've spent hundreds of hours volunteering at one of the grade schools as a volunteer reading interventionist. I fled Illinois because of the taxes, and then soon after I bought a house here, the referendum came along, and my house taxes went up $1,500 a year. So times 8 years, that's $12,000, me personally going into the school. So I'm a stakeholder. Math is relentlessly hierarchical. Did I mention that? Okay. About knowledge seekers, which in principle I think is a nice idea. I'm really glad that you want to educate us. I think a lot of us have been wanting to know the stuff you're going to teach. I just have a question about, and I have applied, I'm one of your 30. I don't understand why you're doing it the way you're doing it, because I think there's going to be a lot of time and effort spent gathering the information, making it into a presentation, meeting with the groups, and I think the way you're doing it is very inefficient. You're already having 2 sessions, yeah, so you're doing it twice. I don't know why you limited it to 15 people. Neither one of them is in the evening for people who work until 5. And I just think that with all the time and effort that's going into it, it's going to be great information. It should maybe be videotaped and shown to everybody, or put on the website, or, you know, presented pieces of it at these school board meetings. But I don't understand why you're doing it the way you're doing it. Math is relentlessly hierarchical. I have a little problem with the way you say the rules before we do this public comment. Not too long ago, Naperville 203 had some controversy going on. I don't remember what it was exactly, but they start their board meetings at 7 and they were still going until 10 because so many people wanted to make a public comment, and they hear from everybody. So it's insulting when you say you might limit how many people can speak.
John Allen.
Good evening, good evening. Those of you that may remember, and for the sake of the public, some time ago I requested external spending for the Gary School Corporation from years 2019 through 2024. And that information, although being voluminous, was ultimately released to me. It was approximately 6,800 pages of documents of spending between 2019 and 2024. Me and a team of other citizens have gone through those documents, and we found some interesting things in our overview of the data set in those documents. We find that it's 1,633 different vendors in that time period. Right now, Tesla is a small car manufacturer, and they don't have 1,600 vendors to make cars. Gary School Corporation has about 12 sites or schools in comparison to Chicago School Corporation with 600. Yet the ratio of vendors to students is relatively high compared to that school system, which is spread out over 200 miles, with Gary being concentrated in less than 50. It's about 2.4 vendors per student right now at Gary School Corporation. This, to me and my fellow citizens, suggests that we have some redundancy in our purchasing and using of the vendors, and it's hard pressed for me to believe that maybe we could buy pencils, paper, and copier from the same vendor instead of multiplying these vendors. Probably would make us more efficient. In addition to that, we discovered that about 454 vendors appear to be individuals rather than registered business entities. That's quite a bit. That's a lot, 400 different people. Some people may be doing business in their personal name, but that's quite a lot. With that being said, our other issue that we have at this time in our first review of the voluminous documents is that it seems to be $477 million in spending. Of course, larger school systems spend more, but we're outpacing the rest of the state average at $13,000 per student. We're reaching 20, almost 10,000 more per student. And the average parent or the average citizen we talk to don't think we're getting like 10,000 more in results. So, and sum it up, in comparison to Chicago, to be fair, of course they spend a lot more money, but we're at almost 5 times the ratio in many of the things we're doing with comparison to density of vendors and spending. And we need to work on that. And our internal transfers cause the numbers to seem to be exaggerated. We've had $133 million in internal transfers. And the way that works to the citizens, and we could be wrong, there's no tracking of it if we're internally spending money to ourselves as vendors. So we don't know what's done with that one. Thanks a lot.
Jackie Lee.
Good evening. I came in here this evening because I have a question about a new hire, and I have information, I have videos, and I just wanted to let the public know that this person was terminated from the school, and they rehired him in a position that I believe that is not conducive, or it is, they didn't check and find out why they hired this person. I'm not going to say this person's name. I will give him that much benefit, but I do have videos on this person, and I would like to see someone after the meeting to show the videos. And just like Mr. Allen said about 1,600 vendors, that's uncalled for. And, you know, a citizen and a taxpayer, we shouldn't have 1,600 vendors. I don't believe the United States government has 1,600 vendors.
They have 16 million.
You know, so we're gonna have to do better as a community. And I'm speaking out on this because I'm concerned about how we are spending our funds. And the board is the one supposed to be, you know, have the checks and balances when they come down to the funds and find out why they are spending this kind of money and these many vendors. I believe that's you all's job to do that. So, I mean, you all need to look at that because these are our tax dollars. And for some reason, when I go to board meetings, I believe you all think we work for you, but you work for us. And so we're gonna have to do better. And this is not out of disrespect, this is out of concern. I'm a concerned citizen. I've been fighting this battle for a while, and I don't believe our superintendent understands or know who that person she hired and what they did to get terminated and to rehire them. Somebody should have told you something in the school board system. I'm sure they know. And so I will be getting in contact with you, letting you see the videos of this person that you put in charge that was terminated for a good reason. And with that, y'all have a good evening.
Mrs. Tyndall?
Greetings to all. I am Mrs. Lavetta Tyndall, Gary taxpayer, 1966 Belt graduate. Please, I'm appealing to you to adapt to the principle of both and regarding our students. Our students are competent, confident. Many of them are black, most of them are black, and products of the Gary Community School Corporation. And they can play basketball and read. They can mop, wash windows and walls. They can dance tap. They can dance ballet. They can dance the slide. They can sing blues and opera and gospel. They can count. They can add. They can think, they can speak. Stop playing our students cheap. What are you, the board, the corporation, what are you doing as a board, as officers, as the attorney, as members, to ensure that each student is assured of the best day every time they come into this building, come into each classroom, go into the cafeteria for a meal, and are engaged in extracurricular activities? Where is the swimming pool approved for in 2023 by MGT? Where is the evaluation of the present teaching methods? How often is the training of teachers in controlling classrooms? How is the Behavioral Services Program going? What's the status of the Westside Leadership Academy's yearbook? Will it have names next to the students' pictures? What's the number of high school graduates this year? When is graduation day? What's the number of diplomas, certificates of attendance? What's the number of flunking students, expelled students for this 2025-26 year? And finally, well, in addition, Joy, please add board meeting dates to the school calendar and fix the entranceway so that when I push a button to get in, the door opens. I'd appreciate that. Also, this board needs to work with this city Eddie Melton, and the Indiana Landmarks, Eunice Trotter, in providing monies to renovate, repurpose the Gary, Indiana's historically renowned, artistically profound, model educational institution known as the Velt, Roosevelt High School. Thank you very much.
Ms. Curry.
Hello, everyone. Both the school board, superintendent, staff, community residents, friends of the Gary Community School System. I've come to I only think I missed one since the last 2 years, school board meetings. I represent NAACP Education. Been to all the school boards around in the area, Lake County. I've actually went into schools just for myself. I wanted to observe and see what's going on, how the students, what they're thinking about, careers, how they act, the environment, and a lot of things have changed in Gary with your new superintendent. I have to tell you, I've seen the positive changes. I've been before, I've seen after, I've seen some things, and it's involvement. And the key thing about effective school boards, when I was in Jersey, I used to be a corporate vice president of pharmaceutical Johnson & Johnson, and I'd go to schools there, and I've seen things. And the two traits that in boards and community and everything was about common vision and trusting relationships. Now, you think about that in life with friends and family, how do you build that? You got to talk straight. Have meetings, meet with the superintendent. If you see something not right, then you got to be part of the solution. And I'm saying that right now, the challenge for 2026, 2027, we know what's going on in the world. We got to need a little bit more love for each other, and we got to talk. We can't use it on the phone. We can't be texting. That's a game. I like to talk face to face. So I'm just saying, as a common purpose, and I'm just hearing a lot of things tonight. I've talked to the budgetary, I know John there, I've talked to about things going on in the community, but I'm not dealing with the past. I'm moving forward. And that's my objective, and we're going to help the priority, which is the students. Key thing, collaboration, unity. I'm a data person. I don't just talk general, I want to hear facts before I make a decision. So when we deal with problems, we got to have facts. I think we've been engaging that way. And I think we need continuous improvement. I want a pool. Why do I want a pool? For life safety. I want every kid in here to know how to swim. Because we got a big lake. And if you can't swim, that's a problem. So we got to develop community relationships. If the pool's not there west side, we go to YMCA. We got a $40 million Boys and Girls Club policy. We need to work together until we build the pool. But we need to get a pool. I agree with that 100%. I got 10 seconds left on comment on me. I'm just saying this is me commenting. So I just want to say let's work together and let's start that talk about the past. Let's work together and look at each other face to face. That's my challenge for the community, for myself. I just don't just come in, talk, and complain. I want to be involved. And I signed up. I think I was one of the first ones to sign up. I want to learn what this new school system is doing. That's what we got to do. We can't think about the past. I'm sorry I went over the time. But the school board, I got these 8 data points I track you on all the time. It's about effectiveness. And that's all we want. And I think it comes down to we have to have common vision and trusting relationship. I'm done. I'm sorry if I going over my 10 seconds. Okay.
We will move on to item 5, consent agenda, which is only one item today, 5.1. I will entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion that we approve the consent agenda item.
There's a motion on the floor. May I have a second?
Second.
It's been moved, properly second. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing no discussion, may we have roll call for approval, please?
Dr. Woods.
Yes.
Attorney Irvin.
Yes.
Attorney Lockett.
Yes.
Glenn Johnson. Yes. And Mr. Suggs.
Yes.
Vote is 5-0.
With a vote of 5 yes and 0 against, consent agenda item 5.1 has been approved. We will move now to item 5.2 on our agenda. I will entertain a motion.
I'll make that one.
There's a motion on the floor to approve item 5.2. May I have a second? It's been seconded. Any discussion on the item 5.2?
Yes, thank you. I did want to discuss a couple of things. That's why I asked to have this taken off the consent agenda. This is the payable voucher register, which kind of goes along with what one of the comments were just here when it comes to who we're paying, how often we're paying them. Just looking over this register, it's 162 pages. I'll never know everybody there, and I haven't even been on this board a year. But I did have specific questions about a couple of items, so I hope that you, Dr. Stokes, can help me with this, your CFO's here, somebody. But I was curious as to what Jelani Educational Services for. They were paid $11,000 for a month.
This actually is going to speak to what we're going to be discussing later as well. Jelani Services are it's a school psychologist, and they performed and supported evaluations
For
special education
special education evaluations?
students. Yes,
Students. How many students was
I wouldn't be able to have that immediately at my disposal.
that? Is that how they have a monthly contract for $11,000, or is this an announcement?
The contract was previously approved by the school board. I would have to verify what month, and it was in order to provide a stopgap from a school psychologist who resigned. And if you, to explain special education a little bit, once an evaluation consent form has been signed, we have a certain number of days, depending on if it's an expedited evaluation or if it's a regular evaluation, that students must be evaluated by. So I wouldn't be able to tell you the exact number. Since I didn't know what that question would be, I didn't gather that data today.
No, that's fine, and I didn't know what the question would be either. I just,
That's okay.
I get my board docs, I got a Wednesday at 4, I have a full-time job, so, I don't have time. This was discussed at some point, but I really don't have time to get into, like I'd like to, prior to the board meeting, so we wouldn't be spending this time here. But also though, the public is very, it's their business, and they wanna know. And so I think it's the same, we just want to know, so should we expect, or do you know if it's $11,000 a month, every month is the contract?
I'd have to pull the contract. I don't remember the tenets of every single contract that we approved. It is my understanding typically though, when we sign contracts with school psychologists, that it's typically per evaluation, and evaluations are very different. So as an example, in autism, an evaluation that will support whether or not a child has autism is much more involved than, let's say, an evaluation where we are determining whether a student has a learning disability. So oftentimes it's not only the sheer number of evaluations, but it's the type of evaluations that are also being conducted.
I just want to add real quick, there are laws and Indiana codes around, like she said, timelines for evaluation, so we don't get to use the luxury of an excuse to say that we didn't have somebody to do the evaluation. We have to have somebody to do it, hence this company that is assisting when we don't have all the staff boots on the ground to do it for us.
Thank you. I know the CFO is in here, so Dr. Stokes, if you could tell her or have her send me a copy of that contract for Jelani.
We will talk with our board president, and if it's the express will of the board for you all to have all of that information, then we'll send it.
I'm sorry, this is a public document. I mean, you wouldn't make me do a FOIA request.
Yeah.
That will always be your choice.
I'm asking that you have the document sent to me. That shouldn't be a problem. But going on to my next question, which was, which was going to be about CSK Architects PC. I see that they have a charge here for about $70-something thousand for the month. What was, if somebody here can answer, what was that for? I know they're architects, isn't it?
I'm not prepared to answer that question.
Do you know?
Kenny, would you be able to answer that?
That's fine. The question was on the accounts payable voucher register, there was payments to CSK Architects PC. And so I was just wondering what type of work they were doing for the district. For if you know, it was for 63,000, no, 60, my computer jumped, I apologize, but it was, at least $70,000, I believe, for this month.
They're the architect of record for McCullough School and West Side, the works that we have done there.
McCullough and West Side, was that the work in McCullough, not from the
storm?
From the storm?
Yes.
That's what this is
Yes.
still?
Yes.
And what work was done on West Side?
Bathrooms.
What? The bathrooms?
Yes, the student restrooms.
Were they remodeled?
They're remodeling, yes.
They are remodeling them? All of them?
Not all, but majority of them, yes.
And when did that work begin?
I want to say probably 2 years ago.
Okay, so they're the architects. I'm sorry, I'm just a little slow, this isn't my line of work. But does the architect, they just do the plans and then someone else does the building?
Yes.
So they're 70,000 about this month alone. And again, I'll be more careful with checking this and making sure it's off the consent agenda so we can have these conversations. That $70,000 for this month, you probably didn't hear that. How much they bill, or they billed last month, or if they're gonna bill next month. Do they have, are they done with what you just discussed? The bathrooms and the?
No, not as
the storm?
No, not as yet.
Okay. Dr. Stokes, I'd like a copy of those contracts also. Thank you.
Any additional discussion on the motion? Hearing.
CSK Architects.
Hearing no discussion, may we have roll call for approval of item 5.2, please?
Dr. Woods.
Yes.
Attorney Irvin.
Yes.
Attorney White.
Yes.
Glenn Johnson votes yes. Mr. Suggs.
Yes.
Vote is 5-0.
With a vote of 5 yes and 0 against, item 5.2 has passed. Items 5.3, approval of payroll register. I will entertain a motion. There's a motion on the floor to approve item 5.3. May I have a second?
Second.
It's been properly seconded. Any discussion on this motion?
Yes. So in terms of the payroll voucher register, I really just had a question. I was looking at it and I didn't understand why Bishop Noel and Portage Christian was on here. Like, just if you could just tell us about that, thank you.
Would you like me to address that, Dr. Stokes, or would you like to?
Go
We're what's called a pass-through location, so Title I services are provided, Title I funding is provided to other entities other than the Gary Community School Corporation. And when we say that we are a pass-through, it means that those entities are required to go through us to manage those funds for them. And we are able to take a percentage of those funds since we are actually doing the administrative work of supporting that hire process, yes.
Okay, so that's why I'm here.
Yep.
I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Any additional discussion for item 5.3?
I'm sorry, yes. I also had another question about it. When you look at the line items like Gary Middle, where it says teacher 26, is that like 26 teachers? Or
No,
is
that's a great question. So there's multiple pay groups. So 26 signifies the number of pays per year. They're on a 26 pay.
Oh, okay. And then is that line item for all the teachers?
Most. We do have some teachers that are on just the school year pay.
Okay. Okay.
They've elected to not have their paychecks spread out over the summer.
Oh. Makes sense to me. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any additional discussion for 5.3? May we have roll call for approval, please?
Dr. Williams.
Yes.
Attorney Ernie.
Yes.
Attorney Lockett.
Yes.
Luann Johnson votes yes. Mr. Sutton.
Yes, please.
The vote is 5-0.
With a vote of 5 yes and 0 against, item 5.3 has been approved. I will entertain a motion for item 5.4, personnel report. So a motion on the floor to approve the personnel report. May I have a second?
Second.
Been moved, properly second. Let's have a discussion on this motion.
Yes, thank you. Personnel report for April 9th, 2026. There was some discussion that somebody had, I suppose, just now, in terms of somebody being rehired. I'm unsure you do your due diligence in that. My question about this was about the salary adjustments under the employee status change.
Yes, ma'am.
So SRO salary increases, that's school resource officer?
Yes, ma'am.
Who's up? Okay, thank you. That's school resource officer?
Yes.
Okay. And how many do we have?
We had just one, and we have added a second one. He is SRO certified. Both of the individuals are SRO certified. Their salaries are mostly paid from the safety grant as well. So they are current Gary police officers.
Okay, they're paid for a safety grant. Are you required to pay them through that grant, or it's just as theirs?
No, so because we have the option to utilize those funds, we do utilize them for salaries and benefits. It does not support both of them in full, but we use it to pay for most of it.
Okay. And then the Rover salary adjustment, there's two listed here, certified police, non-certified police.
Yes, ma'am. So historically speaking, school resource officers or current certified Gary police officers were hired as rovers. The practice was, it kind of veered away from utilizing that practice because we had already a shortage within the Gary Police Department, so we were not able to attract Gary PD to come and work for us, so many of our rovers were not active police officers. We still do have one rover who is, and then we have other rovers who are not necessarily Gary police officers, but they go through required training to be rovers.
And so when you say salary adjustment, is there a reason why? Did they get raises like everybody else in this packet?
No, actually rovers did not get raises. We did a structural change, and as I mentioned earlier, the historical practice was that we were attracting certified Gary police officers. So the salary scale for those rovers was a bit high, considering that we historically always had them as Gary PD. Because the rovers, many of the rovers are not necessarily Gary police officers, we made sure that we were respectful of those who have that necessary qualification, that they were in line with what would be fair considering the training that they went through in their arresting powers.
Okay, so when you say salary adjustment, certified police, they got a raise?
Certified police, we made an adjustment for rovers versus those who are in schools. And so certified police who are not SROs, their salary structure and hourly rate was based on $32 an hour. People who are licensed police officers, their salary adjustment was based on $35 an hour, and SROs, if they have that necessary certification.
And if they don't?
If they don't have the certification and they're an active police officer, then it's $32 an hour and $27 an hour if they are a rover and do not have the credential.
Okay, so when we look at these salary adjustments, were they, I don't know if you answered, but were they up or were they down?
So it depended on the individual.
Okay, so you have listed here, you have security roving, Wendell Adams from, sorry, I apologize, this isn't public.
No,
The personnel.
You're getting into personnel matters at that
I
point.
apologize, my thought was that this whole document was public, but I will not say anybody's name. I will just say that, if there was a person who went from security roving to security civilian, the Westside New York Academy, did they get a raise or did they get a decrease?
Each one of those subcategories has an hourly rate associated with it. So if they moved from a position to a different position, their salary went from the position that they were in, and it was moved to the position that they were moved to.
Okay, because I don't see position adjustment, I just see salary adjustment.
So I don't know who you're speaking of. The salary adjustment could have been made if they stayed in the same position and the position itself had a salary adjustment.
Are you saying position ranges, or help us better understand? I'm sorry.
Okay, because I can't say anybody's name, but there's three people listed here in terms of the rovers security roving. So when it says salary adjustment, I'm just wondering, was it up or down? Because we have another document here where everybody got a raise, it seems like, in the whole entire school corporation. So I'm just wondering if these two people got raises also, like everybody else.
So again, it depended on if they were a certified acting officer or if they were not.
That's what I'm saying. Is it adjusted down or is it adjusted up?
If they were a certified officer, it was adjusted accordingly to the new structure. When all rovers were receiving $35 an hour, certified officers were moved to $32 an hour as rovers. And then the individuals who do not have certification as an officer were moved to $27.
Okay, so then everybody's getting 35 and then you guys did some restructuring and then you say, okay.
We wanted to make it equitable, and we did an industry standard comparison to see what other SROs and security staff were making across.
And we took recommendation from our director, who is, we don't do things in isolation. Our director of security has worked with the team to make sure this is effective.
So, sorry, I didn't have it on at all. I apologize for that. Well, maybe nobody heard the name I was supposed to say. So,
I was on then.
So, if I'm hearing you correctly, it could have been, or it looks like it was, based on what you just told me and what I'm looking at, that somebody, let's say, was making $50,000 a year, and then you all came one day and said, "Oh, sorry, we're changing you to $40,000." Like that wouldn't happen, right?
It depends on if they moved to a different position as well.
No, I understand that. I'm looking at this. It doesn't say anybody moved. It just says salary adjustment. So I'm just wondering, would there be a situation where I'm coming to work every day like I've been doing for 5 years straight, and then one day you all come and say, "Hey, we're gonna."
It depends on the position. So if they were an SRO, we made salary adjustments up because they have the necessary credentialing. You have to get an additional certification as a school resource officer. And when we, again, because I think Dr. Stokes referred to the fact that we've hired a new director of safety and security. So when he came on board, there was a discussion had with him regarding the structure of our current security model And he, again, looked at some industry standards, spoke to some other directors from across the state of Indiana as well as in our region, and looked at what we were paying our current security staff, whether they were certified, not certified, and what their requirements were in the capacity of their roles, and that's why there was a structural change.
So that structural change could have netted that somebody came to work one day making 50,000, and then you all say, hey, we're making a change, now you make 40,000.
Certainly could have.
Does that seem fair?
Definitely if when you're looking at what they were making for, if it was inflated according to what their credentialing was.
Were they given time would they have been given time to get the credentialing? And again, if I'm coming to work doing the exact same job, just you all do a structural difference and say, hey, sorry, but we're cutting your salary.
So it was based on their credentialing. You can't just go out and get an SRO certification. You have to be a licensed and certified police officer first and foremost. And you cannot just become an officer without actually going through the pre-basic training. So we are actually promoting some of our, when I say promoting, I mean we're encouraging many of our security staff to pursue the necessary pre-basic training to possibly become reserve officers. And in the event that they do that, then they would be eligible, should a position open for a particular role, as an example, an SRO, they could be considered for that position.
I suppose what I'm asking you is, before you cut somebody's salary, are they given the opportunity to do whatever it is you're asking them to do to bring it up to where they were before the cut?
Not if they don't have the necessary credentials.
Okay, so if I'm hearing you correctly,
Yes, ma'am.
I can be doing my job that I've been doing because you all hired me to do this job at this pay rate. And then you hire somebody new who comes in and says, hey, I'm looking at the structure over here, and I don't think this person should be paid that. And then you just cut their salary.
So let me reiterate. When the structure for specifically the rover positions was created.
Can I speak for just a moment?
Sure.
Please.
So when the rover positions was created, what she's trying to share is that it was created for people who were licensed police officers who have to carry guns, who go out and they face a certain amount of danger in their role of being a police officer. What we do have one person who has that, but not everybody has that. We've got some civilian people who are rovers, and quite honestly, they are making more money than our police officers who don't even have the same risk. So we did an industry look, and I don't want to speak for our new director, he could speak for himself, but we looked at all of this information to make our salary ranges fair and equitable.
And when you say fair and equitable, it just doesn't seem fair or equitable. If I'm doing a job, I'm getting a salary, and then one day I'm just cut because it's not fair or equitable. And I say that to say, when you say that with the police officers and they do all the training and so forth, and that's why it was priced as something. But like, I'm a lawyer. I cannot go to court and do lawyer work unless I have a law degree, right? So when I step up in front of the judge and judge says, hey, what's your attorney number? Then I know my attorney number, and the judge knows that I'm got the degree I'm supposed to have, and I'm there, and that's what I'm doing. So what I'm saying is, if you're saying that this position was for certified officers who had A, B, C, D, then if I didn't have A, B, C, D, I shouldn't have been hired. I would have been hired if that was a requirement.
I understand, and those hires were made before we started. We were trying to right-size things, as one of the staff has said. You know, we are trying to do things to move the district forward, and so in some situations we do have to right-size things. I can't atone to things that were done before I came, but we're trying to do what's right.
And I understand, and I know we don't mention specific people, nor should we, I suppose, but we can't lose sight of the fact that we are talking about people. And we're talking about people and their livelihood and their families and what they're doing for to provide for their family and how they have to live. And so when you are in a position and you're working a job, and then one day you're told, hey, you're getting less money because we're right sizing, I just feel like there's just something inherently wrong with that to me. Please.
Good afternoon, evening, Dr. Stokes, board and community.
Can you keep talking to your mic?
Sure can. How about now? Everybody hear me?
Yes.
All right. Okay. We do have a tier And the tier, as you said, is the SRO. Now, the SRO person could be an auxiliary officer, according to the state of Indiana, or an actual police officer. And then, of course, that's the highest tier that we have, because they work within the school and they have the SRO procedure. Yes. So once we move from there, we go down and we go to the actual police officer, who actually is a sworn police officer, either auxiliary or reserve, and that's where it drops down. Now, however, the actual sworn police officer has the ability to actually become an SRO and move up. Just as if we talked about the $27 that everybody made, well, the people who are rovers. If we have a process coming up in June. If those individuals wish to go and become an auxiliary officer, they can be considered for the position as well.
Okay, so I suppose what I'm having a problem with, so you came and you right-sided it, right, or looked at everything, restructured. If I am a person, and we don't have to talk about people specifically, but let's say I'm working and I am a rover.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm a rover, and I've been working for Gary Community School Corporation for 15 years, 20 years, 5 years, 2 years. But whatever, I got hired on, they said that you were gonna get $30 an hour, right? And so I'm working this job and I've been doing it and I'm doing a good job and I'm getting my increases or whatever it is that happens, and then you're hired.
Yes.
And then you get hired and then you look over everything, you say, oh, you know what? Rovers, if you're getting, I don't know, if you're the SRO officer, then you should get this. If you're just regular police officer, you should get there. If you're not a police officer, you should get whatever, right?
That was according to how we looked at other schools, and we made a basis pay of how the community actually looked at it. So that's why we had tiers to it.
Should that apply to new hires? Right. You would go and you would take money from somebody who's been working and making a specific salary?
Well, at this time, like I said, they have the opportunity to actually go and become reserve officers if they wish to. Because there is no age requirement for it.
What I mean though is, so why, and I don't know if this happened, you can tell me if it happened. But it's saying, hey, you're making $30 an hour, we've restructured that position you're in to make it 30 hours, you gotta go get this X certificate. And so we're gonna give you 6 months to get X certificate, and if you don't, we're gonna take you down. Or is it just, oh, we're gonna just, I'm here, I got a new structure, and this is what you're getting paid now because I've changed things, sorry.
And if I may speak to that, there are certain groups of individuals that have this kind of protection with them, right? Teachers have a collective bargaining agreement, paraprofessionals have a collective bargaining agreement. There are other structures within our district that do not. And when we come in from a human resources perspective, I hear what you're saying, Attorney Lockett, that you wish that people could stay at the salary that they were hired in at. However, also from an HR perspective, we had individuals who were hired in at an inflated rate, which caused inequitable practices because they were being paid more than our certified and licensed police officers, and they did not have the necessary credentials.
Would you agree that they didn't hire themselves?
Yes, I would.
Okay, so all I'm saying is that, I'm sorry, what was that?
No, there's another question after you finish yours, please.
I'm just talking in time. You want to go? Come back to me.
Yes, I'd just like to ask, how does this structure compare to other school districts?
Actually, it's right on point. As far as the SRO makes the highest because they actually are within the schools and they have an extra certificate. Even though the police officer is a police officer or reserve officer and they have the actual arrest balance within the state or the city, we start off with the SRO and we work down to the actual police officer, and then we go down to the actual road officer, and then we go to the in-house, which is basically the officers that work, the security guards that work inside the school.
And would you agree, go ahead. Would you agree that having a tier structure provides an incentive for people who want to aspire to do more and to make a better salary?
I would say so.
Structure.
I would hope so.
Okay, and then again, we talk about limited funds, and when you bring people on at, as has been said, inflated salaries, I would think that it would provide for just morale issues in general. So because people do want to be treated equitably and fairly. And so if we are inclined to make the structure fair, I think that morale would improve immensely.
I believe so. And it gives no pleasure, I don't think, of anybody when it comes to taking money from somebody. I mean, I myself have worked and had money taken from me. So I know I sat on both sides of that coin. So I understand that. So it gives no great pleasure as I stand here and say, this is what we have to do. But if we have to work within the means that we have, sometimes this structure has to take place.
You said the means that you have. I know that you all are about to present to us this great windfall that became upon the Community School Corporation. Everybody's getting a raise, except for this person. Oh, I don't know if it's except for this person. But on here, the salary adjustment, it appears that through no fault of their own, because like I said, they didn't hire themselves. Somebody is going to have their salary cut when the corporation has the money, and that's really not your issue. I know your security. I'm just saying that.
Can I speak to that? I'm not sure what you're referencing when you're saying everybody's getting a raise. And do remember that buckets of money, positions can only be paid for buckets of money. For example, teachers are paid out of the education fund, but not our officers. So you got different funding sources that pay for things. Our raises have already been taken care of in previous board meetings. If you're referencing what I think you are, that is something totally different. That's only for our teachers.
I'm referencing what's going to come up to the agenda next, and then just in terms of.
At this point, we've really discussed this item. Are we?
No, I wasn't done. Thanks.
No, I'm not asking are you done, but I'm calling for a vote. You should have enough to decide whether or not you're going to vote supporting or not.
No, I just have one question actually.
Just one?
Yeah.
I'd love to hear it.
Do you think it's fair? No, let me stop. No. So my question is, was the person given an opportunity to get the training to justify their salary before their salary was cut?
One was advised, one wasn't.
One was advised and one
advised of they had the opportunity, they chose to actually go when the auxiliary program was actually going to take place.
So you said one was and one wasn't?
Yes.
One took it and one didn't, or one was advised to and one wasn't?
Well, one was advised, and I believe they were just mulling it over. That's what I can say, because they didn't give me an answer. But I can't make that happen for them. I can only advise them when it's coming.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
That was it.
That's it, because you want me to stop.
May we have roll call, please?
Dr. Woods.
Yes.
Attorney Irvin.
Yes.
Attorney Lockett.
No.
Glenn Johnson votes yes. Mr. Suggs.
Yes.
Vote is 4-1.
With a vote of 4 yes and 1 against, the motion carries. Item 5.4 has been approved. I will entertain a motion on item number 5.5 on the agenda.
I know that we
I'm sorry. At this time, we're going to pause and ask. Athletic director, please come up.
Dr. Stokes, board, audience members, great privilege here today. For the sake of time, I'll keep this short as possible. We had an extensive search for a new football coach and also a teacher, a member of the teaching staff. And we've hired, with your approval right there, we've now hired Mark Hidalgo as our new head football coach here at Westside High School. Mark's had a winning record everywhere he's been. Has 23 years of coaching experience. He'll be a very valuable asset for the Westside community and students. With that, I'll introduce Mark here right now.
Any questions? I'm honored and humbled to be here. I'm just be real quick. My father passed away in October. So I was the head football coach at River Forest. I went to take over for a legendary coach over at Calumet. He passed during that time, and I've pretty much done everything in wrestling. I've had state qualifiers, I've had state champs. And one thing he wanted me to do was be a head coach. So that's why I kept fighting, and finally I'm here and I'm happy. I'm just ready to start winning. And I just want to build good relationships with kids, and that's all you can do. But I want the community to get involved, and I want it to be like back in the day, because I grew up, and I'm older, I should say. So I grew up when, I was playing basketball and stuff like that at Gary Roosevelt. I was playing in East Chicago out in the parks and stuff at the schools. And I remember when Gary was thriving, and I just want to bring that back here.
Any questions?
Welcome, Coach.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time.
We'll entertain a motion for item 5.5, please.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion that we approve item 5.5, field experiences.
There's a motion on the floor. It's been properly seconded. Discussion on this motion.
Yeah. Thank you. Superintendent, I see here there are a lot of field trips, it seems like, coming up for the kids. Bronzeville Children's Museum, Museum of Science and Industry, Navy Pier, Purdue University, Medieval Times, which growing up in Schaumburg I used to go to all the time. So Vellables, I just want to say, good job, I love to see this. I love to see the kids. Yeah, that's right. I love to see the kids getting out, being about, getting cultural experiences, seeing new things. I think that's very important to their development. So I just wanted to say, I was happy to see this.
Well, thank you, Ms. London.
You're welcome.
Any additional discussion on the motion on the floor? Hearing no discussion, may we have roll call for approval, please?
Dr. Williams. Attorney Irvin.
Yes.
Attorney Meyer.
Yes.
Glenn Johnson votes yes. Mr. Suggs.
Yes.
The vote is 5-0.
With a vote of 5 yes and 0 against, item 5.5 carries. We will move on to items. We're going to go to item 6.2 on our agenda.
I'd like to ask a question to our chair. Is there anything else that we need to state board action on in terms of the vote?
Yes, sir. The next 4 items are action items.
Okay.
Yes.
Good evening, members of the board, Dr. Stokes, and our community. I am here to request approval of our MOU with the American Institute for Research. As you know, we have quite a few programs in our K-12 buildings to support student well-being through social and emotional learning. And we have an opportunity to ensure that there is a program that meets the needs of our middle school students. What we have found from their own, out of their mouths and their feedback is that the program that they're currently engaging with doesn't necessarily meet their needs. And so this program is free of charge for the district, but there's a MOU that we want to go into partnership with them. So that's what I'm asking for approval for. Are there any questions?
Thank you, Dr. Treadwell. Board members?
Yes. You say this is paid for through, oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were asking the question.
Yes, if you respond to her presentation.
Yeah.
Okay.
You said that this was paid for through a grant?
It's free of charge, so no grant, no.
Okay.
The organization.
They got their,
yes,
they're coming to us
for free,
Okay.
correct.
Is this, web-based?
There's an actual book assigned to it, so teachers will receive training. There is an aspect of research to look at what the impact that it has on students and their well-being. But yes, students will have their own book, the teachers will receive the training, there's a book for the teachers as well, but it's specifically geared and created for 6th through 8th grade students.
Okay. So I was looking through here and I just want to say that it seems like a nice goal. I mean, I appreciate it. This seems to, from what I'm reading, you could correct me if I'm wrong, is this geared towards character development?
There are aspects, but it's more a little bit broader. So that's why I said not just character development such as social emotional learning, but student well-being. So really helping them to understand their needs, what they might be feeling, how to even advocate for themselves. So there's one unit of study in there that's focused on responsible decision making, right? And so it walks students through what that looks like as a middle school student. It takes into account what's developmentally appropriate for their age. And so there are lessons and activities that the teachers will engage the students with so that they have an opportunity to synthesize that information to meet their needs. And so that's where that disconnect was in the current program that they're using, is that it didn't really meet the needs that they have and that they're voicing that they need. And so this one is a little bit more well-designed for middle school students.
Okay, and I take it there'll be criteria to evaluate like it was when they figured out the other one before.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And is it culturally sensitive? Like,
yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Because we have student body population
Absolutely.
that's mostly Black,
Correct.
African American. So
correct.
Just have to keep that in mind. And there's things that may work for other districts and other
Correct.
places that may not fit so well with us. And so I'm glad that this is culturally responsive. That's what you're telling me.
And where spaces there are not, we have the autonomy to remove and or add. And we're actually having to do that with the current program that we're using is making sure that we're leveraging culturally responsive things for our students.
Okay, and this is for middle school.
This is specifically for middle school.
Is there sort of this type of program for other grades?
So this program, they are K-8. When I last checked, they were working on a high school program as well. We've already adopted one for our high school, and the K-5 one works very well for our K-4 students. So we're moving towards having something for 6-8, yes.
Okay, thank you, I appreciate that.
Any other questions?
Yes. I will entertain a motion for the approval of item 6.2, the MOU between the American Institute of Research and Gary Community School Corporation. There's a motion on the floor. May I have a second?
Second.
Been moved, properly second. Discussion on the motion. Roll call for approval of the MOU.
Dr. Wilson.
Yes.
Attorney Irvin. Attorney Irvin.
Did you ask me something?
I was asking for your vote on item 6.2.
Your vote for item 6.2.
Yeah.
Attorney Black.
Yes.
Glenn Johnson votes yes. Mr. Suttles.
Yes.
The vote is 5-0.
For the vote of 5 yes and 0 against, the MOU between Gary Community School Corporation and the American Institute of Research has been approved. Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's move to back to item 6.1. Welcome.
Is that us? Okay. Ms. Whittington, can you come up as well?
Good evening,
board members and Dr. Stokes and community. We are here to request approval for the recommended custodial bid services for the Gary Community School Corporation. First of all, we want to just thank all of the participants who participated in the process with the walkthroughs, with the understanding Gary community's specific needs, and also those who submitted their bids. So we received about 14 bids. The bidding was open March 26th. The deadline was 3 p.m. and the bids started immediately coming in. So there was a committee put together to review the bids. About 10 people altogether, board members, principals, teachers, support staff, and administrators all conducted an extensive, and I would like for you to underline that, an extensive review of all proposals received. And then after that extensive review, it was narrowed down to about 4 finalists. And after the 4 finalists were selected, we went back to the drawing board, and the discussion was focused around the cost, the staffing, supervision, training, accountability, communication, and the overall fit for the district. And so after completing the process, the committee is recommending SSC, also known as Supporting Student Building Communities, for the custodial services contract for the Gary Community School Corporation. So at this time, we are requesting the board's approval to award the custodial services bid to SSC. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions, board members, on the presentation?
Yes. Yes.
Please.
Okay, so you say that there was 14 vendors who applied?
Yep.
And those dwindled down to 4?
Yes.
Did these 14 vendors, did they have all the requirements, or was this just bid? Were they all qualified to go forward? Meaning, were they missing anything technical, or is that the reason that they weren't chosen to go into Final Four?
So let me answer that question. We had a rubric of requirements that they needed to meet. No vendor was not chosen or chosen based on if they, submitted their information. It was collectively looking at all of the components of what they submitted based on our needs. And then I'll let Linda share a little bit more.
Correct.
Yes, we had several requirements, certifications, things of that nature. So nobody was excluded, everybody was included in the decision. The committee consisted of 10 different people. It was teachers, administrators, a school board member, our support staff, and collectively, it was a tremendous process. And these vendors, it took us a tremendous amount of time and days to go through all the information and kind of isolate, what does Gary Community Schools need? Who could facilitate all of these buildings and all the square footage related to our district? Some of them submitted some very unique proposals, bids, things of that nature, and collectively the committee decided on a top 4, and then we went back to the table and we kind of started the process all over again.
It was a good problem to have, I'll be honest.
It truly was, really.
Was this was an RFP as an opposite to a bid, right? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, this was an RFP because of the total amount of the contract. So there were some specific things that by law, we had to follow. We had to produce it in the paper 2 weeks in a row, the bid, we had to put it on our website. And I know Chelsea Whittington assisted with a lot of this with her social media. Sure. Yep.
Good evening again. We started the announcement of the RFP actually at the February school board meeting. It was originally announced there, and from there I have a saying, "Say turn the machine on." From there, we posted this on our website where it still currently lives. It is the announcement of the bid as well as the full document that explains the qualifications being requested. We posted it on our social media. We included it in our monthly newsletter. We announced it multiple times on our radio station, WGBE 88.7. We sent the announcement to all of my media contacts. I have more than 1,000 media contacts in my network, some nationally, locally, but we wanted to make sure that the word got out. We had announcements on our television program, just all of our different channels that we use to communicate with our stakeholders were used, and that's why we were so pleased to get so many vendors. A total of 14 is quite impressive for custodial. And we have the links and the proof of the dates and timestamps of when that information was pushed out.
Okay, thank you for that. So, the bid being open, when was that? And who witnessed it?
That was Thursday, March 26th at 3:00 p.m. We locked the doors. The vendors were present. I was present. Linda was present. Alvin Richards was present. And we also recorded it for our records to ensure that we were following the letter of law. And Dr. Stokes was there. She locked the door.
I locked the door because after 3 o'clock, we cannot accept other bids. They will be
Correct.
considered late, so we don't accept them.
Did you get them electronically or like in hand?
In hand. Actually, they were sealed bids, so we had to open every bid.
Okay. And so, were all of these 14 bidders that you put right here, were all of them able to do the bond that was required?
I believe there were a few that could not, but they were not considered. We would have further discussions with them if they had advanced to the next level.
So when you say that they were not considered, was this a requirement or not?
It is a requirement, and then that would be a follow-up. In the RFP, we actually added an extra layer to talk with vendors in case we had questions or in case they were missing any documentation.
So let me clarify, because I don't want there to be any misunderstanding. I'm not sure if you're asking if it was a requirement of the law for us to have.
It wasn't.
Or if you're asking if it was our requirement. Because it was our requirement to protect our district.
I'm not asking you what the law is. Just was asking you in terms of what your requirement is, and then when you, and thank you for that, because it wasn't anything that was required by law. This was a decision that the school board made, but I don't know, if you can tell me how sensitive the school board was to the fact that if you're dealing with smaller companies, when you're required to get a bond of that amount, which 5% bid bond required 100% performance bond, just common sense, it would knock out dang near every small company. And so we'll get to who bid and what type of companies they are, but I think that's exactly what happened here. And just my thoughts. So that's why I asked that question about the bid. And so thank you, it wasn't a requirement, this is something that we put in, and my understanding, you correct me if I'm wrong, but this isn't something that school boards do normally.
No, but I am here to protect Gary Community Schools, and if a vendor couldn't assure that they would be able to do the job, that bid bond would allow me the opportunity to bring somebody in quickly without any additional cost to the district. So with the food service RFP, there's also a 5% bid bond required. And then for transportation, because of the volume and capacity we have here, it would more than likely be a requirement as well.
I understand what you're saying in terms of protecting the community. It kind of reminds me of a conversation that was had by Ms. Sachs, who came up here and spoke to us, and she talked about how she's the community, and where's our taxes that are paying for this. So when you put things in. It's kind of like a poison pill, where there's gonna be that us who pay our taxes here, live here in this city, we won't be able to participate in things that our tax money is going to pay for. This is $2-point-something million that is gonna be a year, and that's a lot of money, and that could be life-changing for a local company, for somebody, not that they're struggling trying to get off, just that they're trying to go to that next level, and they won't be able to go to that next level if they're precluded from doing so because of something like a requirement that's not for a bid for that much for the entire project. That's $2.6 million, and that would wipe out, especially being a black city and knowing how Black people have been cut out of the capital of America, basically, from the beginning, and then we're trying to crawl and we're trying to get there, and then you go to a city like ours, which is
Attorney Lockett, if I might, we did not cut anybody out. Even if there were some people who didn't need that, we still considered them. I hear what you're saying. We did not cut anybody out, but at the end of the day, we have to have a vendor that can support meet the needs of our school district. We are 52 square miles across. Our buildings are big. We have to have a vendor that can meet our school district. The team did their due diligence and they came up with a vendor who they believe can support us.
Excuse me. We have another board member that would like to have a comment.
Well, first let me applaud you for the diversity of the group that reviewed these RFPs and make a decision as to who would move forward. But I just wanted to ask, because I kind of think that the process that you're following was followed in the past. Am I correct?
That is correct.
Okay. And the purpose of the bond, as you said, if a company, for instance, small or big, for some reason could not perform, this allows you to immediately move forward and get someone else to do the job. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, so, and I think that what you're doing, and I do understand, we want to include as many people as we can. We want to be diverse and make opportunities available for everybody. But I do understand the need to be able to move quickly if something should happen. And I do understand the need to look at best practices when you're doing this type of thing. So, that's kind of all I was thinking about, but I know that this has been a pattern in the past, and that's not to say that in the future, you may be able to look at how you might be able to move forward differently, but as it stands, this is kind of the process that was followed, and so perhaps in the future, you may want to look at just expanding it or whatever. I don't know, just evaluating it and make sure it may work. I don't know, but just evaluating the process.
And I'd also like to add that we looked at safety compliance and also what is critical for the environment for the students so that, it would be sanitized, clean, and orderly for educational purposes.
Just like it.
Yeah, thank you. Just taking into account, sorry, Denise, I don't want to say Dr. Just taking into account what she just said, I understand that we have the need, that we want to protect our school corporation. At the same time, we should not be excluding. We'll never know how many people didn't apply because they saw that ridiculous, sorry, I am using an adjective and I shouldn't, because they saw the bond requirements and knew that this is something that they wouldn't be able to do. And this is not something that normally happens with school corporations. Now, I don't know if it happened prior with the Gary Community School Corporation, but I do know that this is not something that's typical for school corporations, and especially like the bonding company restrictions, that it has to be listed on U.S. Treasury. You put that in there, then it's making it even harder and harder and harder for people to bid or to win or to think that they could bid and win this contract for custodial services. And again, I'll say it again, this is taxpayer money from the city of Gary. Black people, and I'm saying black people, have had it hard enough as it is. We're excluded on several levels all the time, and I'm sorry, I'm gonna say, I'll get into that later, but all I'm saying is that when we have an opportunity that we can do something life-changing for a company, and I won't even say black, for a Gary-based company, for somebody that isn't big time, that isn't, on the stock exchange, that doesn't make, $20 million per year, you know? When we have that opportunity, I think that we should be cognitive and sensitive to the fact that we shouldn't be trying to, that our actions will exclude some people. So, I'm not gonna.
Thank you, Attorney Lockett. I just want to remind the board members, we're at a process, we're asking questions. There is a point in this meeting where board members have a time to make a statement, but we want to have a productive meeting. So when we ask questions, let's ask a question.
My question was,
and
why?
pontificating.
Why did she put the bid in? That was my first question, but.
This is the most productive meeting you ever had. It's true though. It's real.
Consider yourself warned. If you'd like to stay in this meeting, please be quiet.
Oh, that's so hard.
I just, can I just ask this one question? How long are these contracts for? Is that a year?
This current contract, I only did it for 1 year just to ensure that it's the right company, with a possible 2-year and 3-year extension, but that would be decided later.
Okay, and so because it's for a year, possibly could be extended, in a year, you could go back and evaluate. And, you know, you may want to reevaluate the entire process. But for now, we kind of need to move forward and get a company in place to do this and not delay the process. And thank you, it's a year. And in a year, we may be right back here looking at this again.
I do need to clarify something. We did not mimic a previous process. The only thing that I think was done previously that we did continue to do was the actual insurance bid. And that was done by NGT and DUAB to protect the district. And likewise, someone asked about other districts. Many districts have this. If you talk to superintendents, and I know you were at that training today, and you asked the question, even Linda, many districts have this. This is not an anomaly.
Well, according to ChatGPT, it is, but.
Well, I would advise you to check ChatGPT because it has given me wrong references.
When I ask this question, this is something that is not normal, that does not happen, that according to, actually it was Chad and it was Brock, but maybe they're wrong, but this is not something that normally happens with school corporations, that you're asking somebody for a $2.6 million bond. And if you are gonna do that, then you do that with the full knowledge that you are going to knock out the majority of even mid-sized companies. And that, when you're dealing with, well, we'll go through it, so I'll leave this alone for now.
Mr. President, I think that we all understand the point that we do want to be inclusive as we possibly can be. And so what you're hearing is that in the future, you might want to reevaluate your process. And I'm not saying you will change your process. I'm just saying reevaluate it to make that it works, make sure that it works for the school district. But in the meantime, if we could just move forward, we get the picture, we all understand, I am all for opportunity for everyone, you know, everybody who deserves to have that opportunity. But in the meantime, I'd like to ask that we could continue to move forward.
There's a question for Mr. Johnson.
It was more so just a statement that, yes, we do want to provide preference to local vendors and things like that, but we also need to make sure that we are protected at the same time as well. And so, you know, it's 1 year. I think, you know, we come back in, say, 9 months and evaluate not only the company, but the process as well.
I would like to entertain a motion for approval of the custodial.
So moved.
I'm not.
Motion on the floor. May I have a second?
Second.
It's been moved and properly second. Discussion on the motion.
Sorry, yes. Okay, so, the motion is to approve, there were 4 choices on here. I believe you all said that you wanted to do SSE. Could you tell us about these 4? ABM custodial services. Start with them.
ABM Custodial Services, well, they, as far as their FTEs, which is full-time employees, they had 47, including 6 working leads. Also,
Mr. Could you mute yourself?
They had a retention of current staff, opportunity to retain current staff for evaluation. One of the challenges though that we had with ABM was the fixed rate, meaning that if they don't supply the workers just call off or quit, that we will still have to pay. They will not credit us the money, but we will be again caught with the bill to pay with the workers that they recommended, and then in the middle of the process.
I'm sorry, I don't feel comfortable talking about a company, so I think if.
Well, okay, so even though we don't.
Attorney Irvin, please mute yourself.
Mute yourself.
Okay, sorry about that. No, we don't have to go into minute detail like that, just high level. How much revenue do they have? Where are they based out of? What is their diversity score like? Questions like that for each of them.
Still think that this probably isn't the proper location to dig that deep into an individual's business.
So how about for the one you're asking us to approve?
Yeah.
Can we know that about them? No information, just approve?
Go ahead and share why we're selecting the company that we want.
Well, they had 47 full-time employees. Consists of 2 managers, 2 supervisors, night, 1 admin recruiter. Also, their base is K through 12. That was one of the big things that we were looking for. Also, they shared with us that if we needed more of the full-time employees, that they would be willing to work with us to increase that number. And that's one of the things that we were looking for as far as someone working with us as far as employees. Also, their evaluation was clean intelligence. Managers on site meet with principals weekly, standard evaluation, annual, mid-year, bi-weekly, monthly, to determine if the standards are met. Also, they had trainings. What does it look like to clean? Monthly trainings to staff, 10-step training processes, active training at least monthly. Also, they had a fixed cost versus staffing hours. They have a provision to give the district back $75,000 if they do not meet the KPIs that they put in place. Also, $30,000 a year in employee incentives based on KPIs. And is also a sister company to the Chartwell Group that we are using and contracted with now.
And they are a K-12 supporter.
K-12 supporter.
Okay, you say they're a sister with the company you're using for what?
Chartwell. That we're using for
food services.
For food service, okay. And so how much in revenue do they have yearly?
You can look at it on ChatGPT.
I have actually, I just want to hear him say it.
We do not have that information here at this time.
Okay, so, how much do they plan to pay their workers, and are they doing local hires?
They are doing local.
At what rate, do we know? Was it discussed? Is it gonna be set and then arbitrarily?
We do have some representatives from here, if you guys want to.
If you please.
Good evening, Dr. Stokes and the board. We appreciate the opportunity to be here to explain a little bit of what we put into place for being a part of the community here at Gary Community School Corporation. I'm Sue Witherspoon, and I also brought our VP, Kenny.
Nice to meet you all. Kenneth Murray.
As well as your Regional Director of Operation, Nathan O'Neill. So we'd be happy to answer any questions that you have. I can tell you as far as the wage scale, it would vary upon each different position that we have in place. I believe, if memory serves me correct, and I can't go back to our documents, I think we had daytime staff starting at about $16.50. Originally, the district had asked for about $16 for those starters. We decided, due to some of the concerns they had around the difficulty staffing, that we would make that more encouraging for them to be able to start at a higher rate. We also have our supervisors at a higher rate, and then the night cleaners, I believe, are about 16 at that starting wage that they had required.
Thanks. Could you tell us about the company? Are you private? Are you stock exchange? Are you tell us about it.
Well, SSC, it became a part of Compass Group. Compass Group is a national company here in the United States. It is still private. We are one of many divisions, but as they had explained, SSC is just based in education, so all we do is higher ed and K-12 across the entire country. I believe today our revenues are over $500 million for SSC. And what am I missing? But we currently have about 100 different districts across the United States. I typically handle just the Midwest. And we're continually looking to find those right partners to partner with.
How many districts do you have in the Midwest?
In the Midwest, well, 10 in Indiana.
10 in Indiana. Any local?
I have 5 in Indiana. This would be 6 for us. And then we also have some in Wisconsin, such as that I hope.
We can't hear you.
I have 5 in Indiana, so this would be our 6th.
Attorney Irvin, you need to mute, please.
I manage 5 school districts, K-12.
5 in Indiana?
Yes.
Are any locally here in Indiana? I mean, here in
Westfield and Hamilton is the closest for our region.
Okay.
But it's around that Indianapolis corridor. But we also have some up in Wisconsin, not too far from here. That I assist with, but my focus is Indiana.
So I guess the big question is, in terms of staffing, you're going to hire locally?
That's correct. We partner with the district. A lot of times when we come in, we evaluate with the staff. Do we take on who's here? There are some that may not make the cut as far as trainings and stuff like that, but we do hire locally. We won't bring in from outside. It's here. We put back into the community that we work at.
And we did put in a local recruiter here for the district to kind of help keep that expedited and keep the staffing levels up to where they need to be.
And that's at all levels of staff?
And that's at all levels.
Management levels?
Yes, sir. Yes.
I'm not too familiar, but I think the number one was Gabriel Johnson lives in Miller. Miller? So he's local. And then typically our stats for our local hiring is about 95% when we take over accounts.
Additional questions?
How much does the CEO make?
I'm not sure to answer that question now. So they're privately held company, it's probably not public information.
Oh, they're private, that's right. Okay, good.
Hearing no more questions.
I do, but not for them. Just for. Thank you so
We're
still have a discussion?
He still has to vote though, so, completely.
Thank you. Thank you. You had mentioned, well, just in terms of the evaluation factors, that was all put in place before any bids before it started. Correct. I mean, I know, just process-wise, but
No, it did not. The evaluation of the vendors,
the factors. I'm saying,
Oh, the factors.
Factors. I'm sure. That's how it goes, right?
yes.
Okay, and I'm saying, you said that you wanted to act pursuant to the law, of course. Are you familiar with Indiana Code 5-22-3, which is about open and fair competition?
I believe so, I believe, did we share that code? Yeah.
Okay. And so, just in terms of the corporation and our potential liability to any type of action rising from our action today, which 5-22-3 goes into the fair and open competition, that there are any arbitrary barriers to prevent qualified vendors from competing, and that they all must be treated equally. It could be made the argument that the bid requirements shut out a lot of people. So that's why I'm going to be voting no, and I would recommend all of you vote no also. That's all.
Any additional questions? I will entertain a motion for approval.
It's been moved to second. Yeah.
Okay.
So, it's called.
That's the end of discussion. May we have roll call, please?
Dr. Williams.
Yes.
Attorney Irvin. Attorney Lockett.
No.
Glenn Johnson votes, I vote yes. And Mr. Suggs.
Yes.
I vote is 3-1.
With a vote of 3 yes and 1 against, the motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item number 6.3 on our agenda.
Good evening, board members. Good evening, Dr. Stokes and community at large. I am so excited to be able to come here today to talk to you about an MOU that was ratified by our local union for the teachers to receive an increase to their base salary that will also increase the salary minimum for all of our teachers who are licensed to $57,000, keeping the max at $83,200, and also increasing the minimum for individuals who are working with our district for under an emergency or alternate permit from $49,000 to $52,000. The paraprofessional agreement also provides an additional $350 stipend for all of our paraprofessionals on top of the upcoming $175 stipend that was already agreed upon in the collective bargaining agreement for them.
Board members, any questions on the presentation?
Yes, when you say that this was that Gary Community School Corporation recently realized various cost savings in its budget, where did those come from?
So there were allocations for a variety of student resources within the budget, and when it came to fruition that all of those student resources were going to be required as they were allocated, Dr. Stokes, in the process of collective bargaining, did explain to the teachers that we did not have current resources at our disposal according to our budget. Once they became available and we realized that those monies were not needed in those particular areas, then we were able to allocate them to the teachers and to the paraprofessionals, and we're really excited to do that.
I think it's awesome. What fund was this? Is this operations?
So this is all education.
Education.
Yes, ma'am.
And so, but of course, as I had earlier, there was not earlier, just before there was a discussion that you can move funds from the education fund to operations fund.
Yes, that's more of a financial function that I could have Ms.
But no.
Zaborowski speak to, but
So when you say that it came into the, education fund,
you don't move I've never seen anybody move funds from operations to education.
no, I'm saying from education to operations, right?
But all of this money is coming from education, yes.
Right. And so I asked that because there was a conversation earlier about payment for an officer and there was no money. How much money was found in this? How much money does these raises represent?
I think that we estimated it to be about $1 million.
About $1 million?
Yes, ma'am.
So I want to clarify, there was no money found. We didn't spend as much money as we thought we would spend for some of the other resources to support students. And what I told our union is that, you know, all of this money is to support students, and it's teachers or other staff that come out of the education fund. When we realized that we didn't need all of that money that we had, quote unquote, kind of set aside to support our students, I told them I wanted to give it back to them because it's in the education fund.
I'd like to also be able to speak to, as an example, you asked earlier about the Jelani contract. That was agreed to at the November 13th conference. I went ahead and looked in our board documents. So if you go to the board meetings, you can actually go to our board agenda and the actual contract is in there. You had asked for a copy of that. So it's again at the November 13th board meeting. And I do believe you voted for that one. But it also has the cost structure in there, and it shows flat rates for specific types of evaluations, additional money that would be for like a $500 extra if it's an autism evaluation in addition to all of the other cognitive measures. But as an example, some of that money was allocated for those kinds of services, whether it's for speech pathologists that sometimes we have to contract out for because there's a shortage of those, whether it's school psychologists, as what happened with Jelani Services when a school psychologist resigned and went to a neighboring school district. We needed to have that stopgap. We do allocate resources in that regard for those kinds of services to make sure that our students get everything that they need. And when it was discovered that there was additional money, especially at this juncture of the school year, that we were going to be okay, Dr. Stokes again promised that if there was any additional monies that was not used to support students in the capacity that we originally thought, that it would go back to the teachers.
I think that's fair. Once they get up to this amount that's anticipated, are we going to be able to maintain it for years going forward?
We worked very closely with Linda Zaborowski, who did projections utilizing this particular information, and yes, ma'am.
Okay, and so just in terms of, I'm going back to it, officer that got decreased, which I just imagine if I'm at work and then I come one day, sorry, you're getting less. This money could have been taken? Different funding source.
It was a different funding source. I think what you're alluding to is you're suggesting that we should take money from the education fund to send it to the operations fund, because I think that that's what you were asking earlier. The money that we identified that could be utilized for other student support services were isolated for the teachers. And I'm going to reiterate from your earlier question, there was a restructuring to be fair and equitable for the way that we are providing our individuals within that security department the monies that is given to them for their salaries and benefits.
Okay, thank you for that. And so when we look at this, are these salaries in line with Indiana? The increases? I suppose they're historically lower. I don't know.
That's a great question. That was one of the other things that we talked about. We were going into the recruiting and hiring season. And so we definitely want to be competitive with our area school districts. So we did look at what school districts start their teachers, and we are very competitive now that we are going to be starting at the $57,000 mark. There are some districts that are less than that. Some of our neighboring districts are less than that, and there are some districts that are more than that.
And that's some of the districts that are more than that also are neighboring districts.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
And so, was there a formula put in, like we're gonna raise you 30% or 20%, or is it just like we got this money, so we're gonna divide it amongst this many people?
Yes, that's a fairer way to look at it. There was monies that was identified through the budgetary process, and we identified that amount of money and then what could be distributed to all of the teachers, both individuals who are supporting our district from a license perspective and from an emergency permit and alternate permit perspective.
Okay. And so, just like some of these, like building services from going from 50 to 84, like that's a big jump. No?
I'm sorry.
I'm not saying you don't deserve it, but
That's a range. That is a range, the lowest and the highest in that range.
Oh, I apologize, yes. Ms. Lockett, the salary ranges means that a first-year teacher would be at $50,883.68 prior to the increases for the 25-26 school year. We raised them then to $57,083. $57,000 is the base, and the max would be $83,200. It is important to note that this is an MOU that increases what was originally agreed upon in the collective bargaining agreement.
okay, I got it. So that's just the range. So they're starting now on the right there. Then the next number is the high, but that's the minimum.
Correct. So it could be anywhere in between those two numbers.
Okay. I get it. And so,
However, all teachers will be getting the increase applied across the board.
their base is gonna go.
That is correct. By the 5,000, I don't want to misquote it, $5,116.
Okay. And so then it's somewhere within range.
Yes, ma'am. It depends on where they were right now.
Okay. And was there any thought given to livable wages? Just in terms of what the minimum is for some, I just asked it because I'm looking at the lunch aides and the crossing guards. They're trying to fill
So lunch aides wouldn't be paid out of the education fund.
Huh?
They wouldn't be paid out of the education fund.
Who would?
You only have that document because we changed it based on the MOU, that's so we just gave you the whole document.
Oh, so when they're blue here, that doesn't count?
No, these are just all the salary
Yes.
scales. Specific to the MOU that is in front of you today, though, the reason that you have the difference in salary scales, that salary range needed to be changed, and if you so choose to approve, if the board graces us with the ability to approve these changes.
Okay, but I'm sorry, Mr. Johnson.
Yes, ma'am.
What did you just tell me?
You are talking about
Yeah, I just want to understand what you're saying.
in the cafeteria workers?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, they wouldn't be included necessarily in the education fund.
But is there raise included?
Well,
They previously received a raise at the beginning of the school year, but the
I
last.
think for clarity, I need to just share, the document we gave you, we didn't make changes necessarily to other positions unless it was something that was being impacted tonight. We just wanted to give it to you because we use that for our own purposes too. So we made the changes based on the fact that if you approve this for our teachers, their salary goes up to 57 at a minimum. So we just put it on there and gave you that so that you can approve that change as well if you approve the MOU.
I appreciate that. That makes a lot more sense to me.
You are welcome.
And so with that, then, I don't have any more questions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll entertain a motion to approve the MOU for the teacher and paraprofessional compensation agreement.
Mr. Chair, I move that we accept the MOU.
There's a motion on the floor
Compensation agreement.
to approve. It's been moved, properly second. Discussion on the motion. May we have roll call for approval, please?
Dr. Woods. Attorney Lockett.
Yes.
Glenn Johnson votes yes. And Mr. Suggs.
Yes.
Vote is 4-0.
With a vote of 4 yes and 0 against, the MOU is approved. We will move item 6.4 to our next meeting, We'll go on to item number 9 on our agenda, opportunity for individual board member comments.
I have some, of course. Is there anybody else? Okay, so, thank you for that. I just would like to say that today's, I think it's disturbing to me, two things, and probably have come across to everybody in this room who may be watching, two things that I think are not a good look for this board, for this corporation. One is somebody coming to work, making a specific salary, and then they're talking about we're restructured, so we're taking some money from you. That just sounds horrible. If I'm doing my job, I've been doing the same job. I did not hire myself. I was hired at a rate, and then I come and you say, oh, we're restructuring, we're gonna take some money from you. I just think that is unfair. I know it may not be illegal, but there's a difference between unfair or morality and legality. Slavery was once legal. So just because something is legal, you're allowed to do it, doesn't mean that you should do it. So I just think that stinks, first off. Secondly, I also think has really bothered me is this whole RFP process. I have nothing negative to say about the company SSC or whomever. I just feel that we need to be very intentional about our dollars and about how we can make them circulate in the city of Gary for the benefit of the people of Gary. And again, I'm not disparaging any company here. I'm saying that when we put in poison pills, which is what this kind of was we put in a poison pill, and it may or may not be legal to have done so. I'm sure that it'll lead to litigation that we could have avoided by just not doing it, because litigation is not free, lawyers are not free. So when we're talking about $2.6 million, that's life-changing for some people. People who have been shut out, never given the opportunity, and now that when it comes to us putting in things that they cannot, that they're not going to be able to obtain, and there's historical reasons for that. I think we all know that access to credit and fair lending and banking for African Americans, for descendants of slaves, it hasn't been an equal playing field, and so then we're given an opportunity to equal a playing field. I think that we should have taken that opportunity. Let me just say that Gary is 76 to 78% Black, that we 49 to 50% of us are property owners, that these are property taxes that are paying for this $2.6 million a year, okay? So if we are spending millions of dollars, we have to be intentional about how we're spending it. And so let me just say, and I keep saying this because I know that a requirement for these bids knocks out a lot of African American companies. It's just that simple. We're not going to be able to compete. And so let me just say that in terms of African Americans and Black people in this country, that the 2022 Survey of Consumer Finances reports finds that the median house wealth for white households is $285,000, for Asian households $536,000, for Hispanics $62,000, and for Blacks it's $44,000 per year. So that means that the typical white household has over 6 times the wealth of the typical Black household, and the typical Asian household has over 12 times the wealth. Now, you might be saying, why am I bringing this up now? What's the relevance? Well, first of all, it's always relevant to me. But secondly, because we're dealing with contracts here, we're dealing with bidding, we're dealing with handing out millions of dollars. That's what this is. That's what this. We're the fiscal body, so I think that we should always be aware and hypersensitive of that. As we know, there have been historical barriers to wealth building for Black Americans, and that includes what I just said, which is access to credit, fair lending and banking, GI Bill benefits that didn't go to us, home ownership programs that didn't go to us. So these exclusions created long-term disadvantages that compounded over generations to the fact in a place where we are 10 times or 6 times behind white households and 12 times behind Asian households on wealth. Okay, and so then we also have the income differences with the black households versus other households, and inheritance and intergenerational transfers. Federal Reserve data shows that white families are 5 times more likely to receive an inheritance, and that when they do receive an inheritance, it's much larger on average than anything that black people get. So black entrepreneurs, and this is the part though that really gets me, black entrepreneurs face higher denial rates for loans and receive smaller loan amounts, which limits business growth and long-term wealth accumulation. And that's what we're talking about here. We're talking about business growth and long-time wealth accumulation. And when we do things like put in poison pills and bids that knocks out the vast majority of minority businesses, then we're not doing anything to help that. And I think that that should be our focus, especially in this big, beautiful black city of Gary. So that's just
I would caution you to kind of tread lightly, because you're right on the cusp of actually making a federal lawsuit.
Oh, well, let me say something about that. It's funny you should say that, because I don't know if anybody heard, but J.D. Vance, the vice president, recently came out and he was talking about what has to happen for white males. White males specifically.
Yeah,
but not
was,
just that, I don't even have to say race. Guess what? I'm not even talking race. I'm talking lineage. I'm talking about descendants of people who were enslaved. That has nothing to do with race. That is, it just is a historical fact that they just we happen to be black. But so I'll say that, because then nobody can accuse us or me of talking about specific black issues or black families or black wealth bills. I will say then that those of us who are descended from those who were enslaved for 20 generations have had year after 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 year for 400 years of not being able to participate. And so when we get to 2026 and we look at the conditions that are for our people, I think that we have to be intentional. And when I say our people, I won't say black, I will say lineage based, descendants of slaves, okay? So I think that we need to be intentional about what we're doing, especially when it comes to this board. And like I said, our beautiful city, we need to make sure that what we're spending is benefiting. And again, this is nothing against any company that won. I'm very happy for them. I just want to see it for all of us. I don't want to see anybody excluded. And so let me just summarize my rant. The racial wealth gap is one of the most persistent economic disparities in the United States. Federal data shows that black households have far less median wealth than white, Hispanic, and Asian households. So we are at the very bottom. And we, like I just said, it's not race, it's lineage. And it's based on the fact that our wealth was stolen from us for years and years and years and years and years. You could not make money from your own labor.
Attorney Lockett, I would just like to caution you as the attorney for the board, again, as you're quoting data that indicates racial distinctions.
Let me say something.
Please.
Let me say something.
May I finish my statement, please?
Yes.
Please be cautious, because I don't want to have to do any unnecessary work in litigation that should not be brought up on this board.
Thank you, Shalise, and I appreciate you and I respect you. But let me say, nobody was worried about any additional litigation to work for this board when we went and put a poison pill into the documents for the RFP. So let me also say that it's fair game for them to say, like I just said, J.D. Vance recently said about white males and how they have the EOC on their side now, and so they can mention it, but we can't. But
no,
let me also
I'm not saying you can't mention it. I'm just cautioning you as to your remarks at this meeting about this topic, and you're quoting statistics that infer racial.
The statistics are the statistics.
All I'm asking is that you caution yourself.
Okay, so
we are both counsels of the law.
We are.
So I would like for us not to have any discrepancies regarding your statements that may lead to any type of litigation. Just asking for that respect.
Thank you, and I appreciate that. And as a lawyer, I am also very hyper aware always of lawsuits, and that's why I voted no on the RFP for that. So I appreciate that. I am hypersensitive to lawsuits. But let me just say again that I don't want us to be a target, but me stating facts about what it is in real life, I didn't make up these statistics. What I am saying are facts. And so what it sounds like I'm being told is don't discuss the facts. Facts are neutral. Some people say, and I really hate when they say facts don't care about your feelings. Facts are facts. And the fact is that the racial wealth gap is persistent. It's wide. It's been here historically for the reason because for hundreds of years there was a group of people, and I won't say black people, just descendants of those who were enslaved, who had their wealth appropriated for years and years and years. So not just that, so there is historical exclusion from wealth building systems, lower home ownership rates, income disparities, unequal access to capital, smaller or non-existent hysteria. So these factors accumulate across generations, creating a gap that remains large today. So if nobody wants to hear it or we're not supposed to say it, but the truth of the matter is that the wealth gap remains and it persists, and if we act like it's not there and we ignore it and we're scared to say something, then I don't think we're going to get to the point where we even try to save it or change it. So all I want to say is that is why I voted no. And that is why I would hope in the future that this board is very intentional about making opportunities that all can participate in. And that is all. Oh, I'm sorry. Also though, let me just say this too. Sorry about that, because I know once I get off of here, y'all ain't never gonna let me back on. I just want to say that Ms. Tidwell, I believe she was talking about Roosevelt, and I just really love the thought of it, and I hope there is something that this board can do to renovate, I don't know, make a museum, whatever we need to do, but I see the love for the belt, and I feel it, I appreciate it, and I hope that this board will do something positive for the community with that high school. That's all, thank you.
Any other board members have comment? Yes, sir.
And I'll be a little brief. No, first of all, I want to say, earlier it was mentioned, talking about the spending from between 2019 and 2024. Now, while that is important to know how the money was spent, that predates this board, that predates this superintendent. So it's something that currently, the superintendent is changing some things, but things don't change overnight. And I would just caution, before people start saying that the board spent all this money, the board did not spend all that money. It was prior to the board. And so they were working under different rules, and the state, they basically an agent of the state, and that's what they were allowed to do. And so I would just caution the community not to label this superintendent with that, with what happened during that time period. Secondly, I would like to say that as the board member that was on the committee for the custodial contract, actually I did question that bid bond requirement ad nauseum. And as a matter of fact, Attorney Toller and I had a long conversation about it. So it didn't go under the radar. Okay, you can trust me when I tell you that. Okay, and so, and again, it's a 1-year contract with option years, and that part was important to me as well. So it's because as a federal contractor, as a person who currently has federal contracts and has had them for 11 years, trust and believe, I understand the contract process, and I also know how at times unfair it can be. And so that is directly within my wheelhouse, so I follow it. And I also understand the wealth gap and things like that very well. And so, we all are working to correct that. So that was all I have for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Ms. Woods, thank you. I do want to say that I want to applaud Dr. Stokes and staff as a board member who understands the task that we have at hand, being a school system that just came back to local governance based on financial reasons that were put under state takeover, and how we're still being evaluated for our physical efforts. And I want to applaud and consistently encourage every effort that you can make to be physically sound and responsible. And so I want to thank you for that. And Dr. Stokes knows all too well that part of her annual evaluation is how we are doing physically. Secondly, I do want to say that when we make note of race constantly in this meeting, I feel it's irresponsible, and personally I am offended that we put that in content on all of our conversation. We are bigger and broader and more focused, laser focused, as I have said at this seat, on the education of our students. That's what we're here for. That's what I signed up for. And I just want to make those comments. I will move on into the agenda.
No, let me say something, because
This is not a back and forth.
well, you just said something about me.
I did not say anything about anyone. I said something about comments.
I think that
Dr. Stokes.
y'all know that it was applying to me, but I can talk to you next afterwards.
All right, thank you. I do just feel like I need to go on record and clarify something, because we're talking about a process to hire for our custodial supports that my district worked on. I want to say this for the record. We did not exclude anyone, even if they could not meet the bid requirements. We did not exclude anyone. In fact, I probably don't need to say this, but I'll say it. One of the people who evaluated some of the ones who did not have a bid still promoted them to another level. And then we went on. We did not exclude anyone. We are cognizant of the fact that we want the best group working for us. It just so happened that 4 vendors rose to the top. And you heard me say earlier, it was a very hard decision because there were so many good vendors, but we can only select only one. And of the 4, we told you we wanted to select. So I want to go on record saying to everybody who's listening, we did not exclude anyone, even if they could not make the bond requirements, they were not excluded. Beyond that, I do want to say something about our board. I want the community to know that our school board, can we go to the next slide, please? Our school board received an award for exemplary governance, and I just wanted to say, I want to read to you what the award says. It says that presented in recognition of the Garrett Community School Board. School boards, they get this reward for displaying continued evidence of leadership and exemplary governance. So we want to remind our board members and our community that how you show up matters. And if we want to continue to receive awards like this and be an example in the state of Indiana about how a school board should govern itself, we all have to remember that how we show up matters. We don't have to always agree, but we do have to be professional, and how we show up matters. So I want to thank my board for winning this award. We expect good things out of the board members. With that, I give the floor back.
I will entertain a motion for adjournment. Been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Meeting is
Hey, you guys got to head on over.